So Halloween was just this past Friday, and it came with some different warnings this year, specifically with respect to doorbell cameras. But before we get to that story, it sounds like you had your own spooky video doorbell experience that night, Amber. Can you tell us a bit about what happened?
Absolutely. So we have an Ecobee video doorbell, which I love. And so most of the night on Halloween, we were close to the door, answering the door. But as it approached 9 p.m., we kind of thought, okay, the trick or treaters are done, Jeff. And unfortunately, that was not the case because all of a sudden I was sitting on the couch watching the Blue Jays playing, and I got this notification and screen grab of a terrifying clown up close looking straight into our video doorbell. And it just, was absolutely horrific. It was a little bit scary to see that clown so close up. And it reminded me, Jeff, of this story that we are going to kick things off with. Jeff, you were referring to a warning for Amazon Ring owners from the digital rights group Fight for the Future. They oppose Amazon Ring's partnership with their surveillance tech company Flock, saying, and I'm quoting here, to preserve human rights and community safety, all people in the United States are advised to turn off and cover their Ring cameras, the Amazon Ring cameras, this Halloween to avoid complicity with ICE operations and the deportation of immigrant families who are out trick-or-treating.
Wow. So, yeah, Flock has come under fire from the American Civil Liberties Union and others because of the company's cooperation with law enforcement. So that's ranged from providing surveillance footage to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, also known as ICE, as well as assisting police investigating people seeking out-of-state medical care for abortions and more. But speaking about Amazon, they also just fired 14,000 employees. But don't worry, it wasn't because of money or AI investments. It was just because, culture, Amber.
Well, let's actually dive into what Amazon's CEO said. And you have to kind of wonder, in this day and age with so much media around us, I think people have to be a little more careful about how they express things because these were the exact words. The CEO said, and I'm quoting here, these decisions were not really financially driven, and it's not even really AI driven, not right now. It's culture, end quote. Before noting that we are committed to operating like the world's largest startup, and that means removing layers.
Yeah, and frustratingly that led to a substantial increase for Amazon shares, which may also have been buoyed by Amazon Web Services' strongest growth in years, which included partnering recently with Perplexity to launch their AI browser and cashing in on the monstrous cloud compute capacity deals that have been swirling around the AI industry and that we've talked a lot about. And I just will note Amazon Web Services is, of course, the very service that took down huge swaths of the internet just weeks ago, as it has done many times before.
We should also know that Amazon isn't the only big company that is leaning into layoffs. We've heard about a lot of layoffs over the past few weeks. Intel plans to cut 15% of its workforce. Microsoft cut 7,000 people in May. Salesforce cut 4,000 in September. UPS has cut 48,000, this number is staggering, since last year. And the list goes on and on, many of them pointing to AI as being part of the reason for those cuts. That said, David O'Toole, professor of economics at MIT, recently claimed in an interview with NBC that it's much easier for a company to say we are laying workers off because we're realizing AI related efficiencies than to say we're laying people off because we're not that profitable or bloated or facing a slowing economic environment. Whether or not AI were the reason, you'd be wise to attribute the credit/blame to AI, end quote.
Yeah, and I think that's a very insightful comment. Everything's so wrapped up in politics. Nobody wants to say that the U.S. economy is, like, as we've reported, is outside of AI investments pretty weak, but that they don't want to be a political target for that sort of thing. So, AI is distorting how bad the rest of the U.S. economy is. So that could totally make some sense. Still, most of the big tech companies have just announced in the past week or so that they'll be increasing their AI investments in the coming year. And one estimate notes that they'll collectively spend around $550 billion next year on AI. And Meta, strangely enough, has announced it's going to raise up to $30 billion of funds through bond offerings. but some of those don't reach maturity for 40 years. So I think that shows you the level of optimism, or I would just call it arrogance, that Mark Zuckerberg must have to believe that his company is still going to be around and kicking in 40 years. So I guess we'll see if we're still around.
Wow, I'm just imagining Mark Zuckerberg, 40 years down the road and the type of chaos that would have followed him around if he does continue to operate like this. Now, there is a little bit of positive news on the social media front, particularly back here in Canada. You might remember a few months ago that we had the founder of Gander, Ben Waldman, on our show to talk about how they are building a better social media platform for Canadians. They've had a lot of momentum and buzz over the past few months. Full disclosure, I am an advisor to them. Now, Gander isn't yet available for the public, but a couple of weeks ago, the company opened investment via equity crowdfunding to its early access community.
Yeah, that's kind of a refreshing change from just trying to hunt down big venture capitalists to fund things. Last time we looked, I think they raised more than $1.2 million, and that's from hundreds of individuals who invested $255 or more. And, that kind of interest, I think, shows that Canadians really do want a better online gathering place than places like Facebook, one that's owned by Canadians, hosted in Canada, and that actually cares about its users would be a really big addition. So you're an advisor for Gander, Amber, as you said. What did you think about this news?
Well, I was really excited to see this and actually kind of blew my expectations in terms of the amount of support that they've had so quickly and the number of people who have stepped up. Like you mentioned, hundreds and hundreds of people, and some of them just giving a couple $100, some giving more. But it really shows that this is a platform that is working to do the right thing, and really happy to see in the social media space that there will be a better option for Canadians. I think that's really important, especially as we talk about digital sovereignty. Now, there is another company out there, a much bigger company, an AI company that is trying to also be a little bit better, maybe unfortunately a little bit too late, but they are, I think, recognizing that there have been issues with their technology, especially over the past few months.
Yeah, so the Character.ai is the first of the chatbot providers to ban under 18-year-olds from using its chatbots. So this is unfortunately seems to be driven by multiple child safety lawsuits, including one by the mother of a 14-year-old boy who committed suicide after using Character.ai's chatbot. And we've covered other stories like that. But the lawsuit thing, that's just par for the course for big tech these days. Wait until somebody takes you to court before maybe possibly trying to do the thing you should have done in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, it's so discouraging to see how long it takes some of these companies to step up and do the right thing, especially since there are so many people who knows that they've been doing the wrong thing for so long, and this has become kind of the norm. Like you said, the lawsuit comes, they eventually back down, but it becomes a vicious fight. And I think you said this on a recent the other Mac that unfortunately kids are collateral damage along the way, and that's the part I think that's so disheartening. Uh,
Mhm.
we will continue to talk about stories like this every week on the show. It's such an important issue. Let's turn now to something that's a little bit more uplifting. Scientists have recently and successfully used a very novel storage medium as computer memory, shiitake mushrooms.
Yeah, that's so cool, I think. And what they're doing, they're basically leveraging the fact that mycelium networks, which are the things that grow all throughout mushrooms, it's kind of what they're made up of, are similar enough to neural networks that scientists have been able to store and transmit information through them. And the researchers noted, and I quote, the future of computing could be fungal, which is a phrase I can't say that I've ever heard before. So that's another interesting thing.
Yeah, very, very cool. I did not see that story, so excited to hear how that one evolves. Another great scientific advance was recently made in California that may have more immediate practical value for a lot of people, and that's the first flight after a decade of development by NASA and Lockheed Martin of the X-59 supersonic jet, whose goal is to allow travel faster than the speed of sound without the accompanying sonic boom that was the downfall of the Concorde supersonic passenger jet in the 1970s.
Yeah, in fact, they passed laws because of that. Also because of some pollution things as well, but the sonic boom thing drove people crazy. So the X-59 travels roughly twice as fast as regular commercial jets. They're getting around the sonic boom thing in a couple different ways where they've got a more pointed nose on it. I think they've even tried putting the engines above the plane, which kind of disrupts the boom, so you don't hear it quite as an intense a sonic boom, and they claim that it is much more bearable. So going roughly twice as fast as commercial jets is great because I certainly would like my air travel time to be cut in half. And, especially as I think where I've found, at least anecdotally, that air travel is getting increasingly unpleasant in many ways, but one certainly from a turbulence perspective due to climate change. And that brings us to our next story, really, which is a pretty sobering announcement by Bill Gates ahead of COP30 in Brazil.
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked before about Bill Gates and how he seems to be one of the more responsible tech billionaires, although I'm not sure how much that is saying in today's day and age, because there are very few of them who are responsible at all. The letter he wrote here says a lot about where the world is today. He titled the letter Three Tough Truths About Climate and saying, what I want everyone at COP30 to know. And the letter read, quoting here again, the doomsday outlook is causing much of the climate community to focus too much on near-term emissions goals, and it's diverting resources from the most affected things we should be doing to improve life in a warming world. Also noting that it's time to put human welfare at the center of our climate strategies. Seems pretty obvious, Jeff.
Yeah, and he said that people may not agree with this, but I'm not saying it because I think people will agree with it. I'm saying it because it's intellectually defensible and he thinks it's right. And I really sympathize with what he's saying. Basically, that in focusing too intently on immediate climate solutions, we risk leaving the people we're actually trying to help with those solutions behind by ignoring some of their more pressing problems. Uh, and I think this is also him being a realist in the face of growing political obstacles that are getting in the way of climate action from two of the biggest polluters in the world, China and the U.S. We've seen the U.S. moving backwards on all sorts of climate things for no good reason. At times, it just seems like it's politically motivated because they want to own the libs or something. But in that respect, I'll also note that Canada has missed every single solitary one of our emissions reduction goals since 1990. And keep in mind, 2/3 of those years were spent under federal liberal governments who reliably and dependably painted themselves as responsible and concerned environmentalists. So it's not like Canada has a lot to brag about on that front either.
It's going to be really interesting to watch what Canada does on the climate front under our new prime minister, because he has also been someone who has always taken a climate first approach, I think, to many solutions. But we're also in a very strange time right now. So